Shalom to all my brothers and sisters worldwide. Today I'm going to be answering a video on free will. What is free will? Is it real? Is it something that Jews believe in just because we just think it's a good thing to believe in? The answer is no. This is something that we find in the Hebrew Scriptures over and over and over. When Adam and Eve chose to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, this is the beginning of our awareness and our acknowledgement of understanding good and evil. We are given a choice, and that's why we have something inside of us, which many people deem as a conscience. Now, the problem is we don't just have a good conscience, we have a bad conscience too. Our evil inclination, our evil desires, temptation. We have the good side and the evil. Yes, evil. We are not born in sin. This is a Christian lie, a Christian Bible lie that is not true. Nobody is born in sin. This is a lie. It's not supported by the Hebrew Scriptures at all. Now let me state from Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, why this is a lie. We see in Bereshit, Genesis chapter 4, verse 7, Elohim is speaking to Cain, and he says, "Why are you annoyed, Cain?" Remember, this is after Adam and Eve and the original sin. Why are you annoyed? Why are you upset? Why is your face fallen? If you do well, shall you not be rewarded? But if you continue this path, sin will be crouching at the door. This is the evil inclination. It doesn't say you are born in sin. The sin within you shall be crouching inside of you. No, sin will be waiting at the door. It's not in you. It's not internal. It's outside. It's a temptation. You understand? This is where deep study of the Scriptures comes in. Its desire will be towards you. It doesn't say its desire will be inside of you and you have to believe in a Messiah or else. Or you better start bringing multiple sacrifices. What does God say? Again, Genesis chapter 4, verse 7. Yet you can be its master. You can rule over that sin. Now, why would God say this if you were born in sin and you can't do it? He should say, go get a sacrifice. Go get a bull. Pour the blood on the altar. He doesn't say this. Now, this is the son of Adam and Eve. The problem is that this is not the teachings of Tanakh. Tanakh does not teach that we were born in sin. We have free will, the choice to do good and evil. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 15 says, I have placed, this is God himself speaking. Listen to what he says. Again, my opinion is not important. The pastor's opinion is not important. The Catholic's opinion is not important. The Jew's opinion is not important. God's opinion is what's important. What does God say? Deuteronomy 30 verse 15 says, I have placed life and death before you, blessing and the curse. Yes, God is in charge of all those things. Good and evil, as he says in Isaiah 45 verse 7. I make the darkness and create peace, and I create evil. I do all these things. There is no other force. So therefore, he says, Deuteronomy 30 verse 15, choose life that you may live. Deuteronomy 35 verse 15 says, I have placed before you today, again, life and what is good, and death and what is evil. The ability to rule over evil is not just wishful thinking, as some people believe. It's not. It is a directive expressed in the following verse, which mentions sin by name the very first time, like I mentioned. That's Genesis chapter 4, verse 7. It doesn't say, again, that sin is within you. You were born in it. No, it will be outside, crouching at the door, sneaky. We have a choice. It's called free will. If you go to a grocery store and someone hands you a bill, they overpaid you. You got more than the amount of change you were supposed to get. It's free will to choose whether to say, excuse me, ma'am or sir, you gave me too much change. Or you could say, you know what, this grocery store probably screws people over all the time. You know what, I'm going to put this in my pocket. It's called free will. You choose to do good or evil. That's what the tree of knowledge of good and evil is. Being aware of good and evil. And even after the Garden of Eden incident, what does God say after they eat of the fruit? He tells the angels, look, they have become like one of us, knowing good and evil. It doesn't say that they're born in evil. They become like one of us, knowing good and evil. Like us. So therefore, being aware of good and evil is the point, not an inherent evil. We did not inherit evil. We are aware of good and evil, and we can make a choice between good and evil. For example, Psalms 37, verse 27. Again, I'm not giving you my opinion. It says, turn from evil and do good. Now, why would King David say this? He should say, you can't do good. You were born in sin. But that's not what the Hebrew Scriptures teaches. Even the Messiah to come. The Messiah is not going to come to the United States like the so-called Hebrew Israelites say. It says there in Isaiah 59 verse 20, a Redeemer will come to Zion, that's Israel, that's what's in existence right now, unto those who turn from their transgressions. Not everyone, who turn from their own transgressions. Now check this out. Look what Paul does to this same verse. Look how he corrupts this in the Christian Bible. In Romans chapter 11, 26, this lying weasel writes this about that same quote we just read. The Redeemer will come to Zion, to Israel, to those, that means the righteous of Israel, the Jews, us, and others, who turn from their transgression. Now look what Paul does, this lying rat. He puts, the deliverer will come from Zion, not to Zion, and he will remove ungodliness from Jacob. Meaning the Messiah will come and remove the sin from Jacob. He's going to do it himself. He's going to save Judah from their sin. He's going to do it himself. But that's not what Isaiah is talking about. Isaiah says, no, the Jews will do it. Paul says, no, the Redeemer will do it. It's free will. We can choose good or evil. Just like we could choose to choose God or turn from God. Again, Isaiah 55 verse 7. Let the wicked forsake his way and let him return to Yehovah, that he may abundantly forgive. That's free will. A big part of free will, turning back to God. 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verse 14 says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves, pray, seek my face, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and I will forgive their sin and will heal their land. It doesn't say if they start bringing sacrifices or believe in a dead Messiah. No. If they turn from their wicked ways. Now, some people got to get the wax out of their ears and listen. The Tanakh states this over and over and over. Nobody dies for your sin. It's free will. We choose good or evil. We have the ability to turn from our own sins. Jeremiah chapter 31 verse 30 says, for every man shall die for his own sins. Deuteronomy chapter 24 verse 16. Fathers shall not die for the sons, neither sons for the fathers, neither mothers for daughters or daughters for mothers, but every person shall die for their own sins. Exodus chapter 32 verse 32. Moses tries to give his life for the sake of Israel. And what does God say? Exodus 32 verse 32. He says, no, I will not blot your name out of the book of life for them. They who sin against me, I will blot their names out of my book of life. Nobody dies for anyone's sin. It's free will. If you choose to do wickedness, you will become wicked. and you will pay for it. If you turn from that wickedness, that's free will. That's a choice. The Christian Bible makes this assertion in Hebrews chapter 9, verse 22. Without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness. This is a complete lie and a misrepresentation of Leviticus chapter 17, verse 11, which doesn't say that at all. It's not saying that. And the whole context, if you read again in context, Leviticus chapter 17, it's speaking about the consumption of blood. Blood is life. So therefore, do not consume life. For example, the whole thing is sacrifice. This is all Christians talk about. Sacrificing. Messianics talk about the sacrifice. The blood was needed. It's not the case. It's not what the Hebrew Bible teaches. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 17. Draw near and listen rather than offer the sacrifice of fools who do not know that they do wrong. Psalms 51, verse 22. The sacrifice of God is a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. That's what a sacrifice is to God. Pouring your heart out, repentance, crying to Him, wanting to change. Proverbs chapter 15, verse 8. King Solomon says, the sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to Yehovah, but the prayer of the upright is His delight. That's what was happening. Israelites thought that it was okay to just come into the temple and shed an animal, put the blood on the altar, and everything was hunky-dory. That's all they thought it was about. Hosea chapter 6, verse 6, another example. I desire kindness and not sacrifices, the knowledge of God more than burnt offerings. That's what he says. Proverbs chapter 21, verse 3. Doing charity and justice is more acceptable to Yehovah than sacrifices. So, for example, we have a choice. 99% of the time, unless somebody has a gun to your head. But even if somebody forces you to do something, again, you can reverse it on them. They have a choice whether to pull the trigger on you or not. You have the choice, free will, to choose. You always think about what you're doing before you do it. Unless there's something wrong that you need a doctor to check on your mental health. But let's be real here. People with a normative brain function have a choice between good and evil. You think about things. You don't have to shoot someone. You don't have to punch someone. You don't have to say something evil or do something wicked. It's called free will. God gives us a choice between good and evil. It's an evil inclination. That's what Satan is here for. He is not a ruler on this earth. He does not control anyone. Satan doesn't rule anything. He is here to tempt us, to make us desire to sin. If we conquer over the evil inclination and choose free will to do good, then we build our spiritual muscles and we grow spiritually, mentally, and physically in this world of temptation. Free will is a choice today. Choose life and do what is good and just in the eyes of Yehovah.